6 months ago, the community of San Diego experienced a heart-wrenching tragedy. A 17-year-old Chelsea King disappeared while on a run at a local park. The community came together in the thousands to assist in the search. Unfortunately, everyone's worst nightmare came true a few days later when her body was found. Chelsea had been the victim of a terrible crime, an unthinkably horrific tragedy that traumatized a community, frightened every parent, and forever changed the lives of everyone who knew Chelsea King. As the facts became clearer, we saw a picture of a broken public safety system. But it wasn't just Chelsea. San Diego teenager Amber Dubois was abducted and killed by the same offender. Others across California have been the victims of horrific crimes and systemic failures. J.C. Lee Dugard and others come to mind. Each of these stories tells of a terrible tragedy, and each makes clear the status quo cannot continue. They call for bold reforms. AB 1844, Chelsea's Law, is inspired by the spirit of Chelsea King, but it is for all the children of California. Today, we vote on a piece of legislation that will make significant changes in the way our state deals with violent sex offenders who target children. It includes a number of provisions. The cornerstone of the bill is a true one-strike, life without the possibility of parole for sex offenders who violently target children, a first in California. There are 51 separate penalty increases for forcible sex crimes against children, including new indeterminate sentences. The first lifetime parole for the most dangerous sex offenders, those that are most likely to reoffend. There are additional parole increases, including new sentences of indeterminate lifetime parole, prohibitions on sex offenders from entering parks where children congregate while on patrol, and other changes. But since this legislation left this body, we've added many provisions that make the bill much better, more comprehensive, and cost neutral. Changes taken in the Senate include a comprehensive containment model that includes a dynamic risk assessment system to replace the current inadequate static system. This will allow us to constantly monitor and adjust a parolee's propensity to reoffend and adjust resources to the most dangerous. It will include multi-agency collaboration, victim protection, intense community monitoring, specific treatments, supervision, and polygraph testing of all sex offenders. It'll provide additional funds for treatment and for law enforcement task forces to properly supervise sex offenders on parole, and includes funding for victim services. Additionally, we've made substantial changes to the mentally disordered offender law to require the detention of offenders where evaluators are tied in their assessment. We also require more information to be available to California citizens on the Megan's Law website. And finally, we did all of this at no additional cost to the taxpayers. When introduced, we pledged to identify reforms in the correction systems, savings that would pay for any cost increase associated with the bill. In the Senate, we took amendments that do that. This bill is the product of hundreds of meetings, thousands of hours of work, legislative and oversight hearings, and close consultation with groups like the Sex Offender Management Board and others from across the political spectrum. It's also the culmination of a rigorous legislative process. 4 committees, 2 floor votes, almost 6 months of daily effort have made Chelsea's Law a stronger, better, and more comprehensive piece of legislation than when it was introduced. Its successes have also been made possible by the amazing strength and courage of Brent and Kelly King and the sheer willpower of 100,000 change makers, individual citizens from across California who came together to write letters, to make phone calls, to gather signatures, to travel to the Capitol and provide the energy and strength to get us this far. We've watched grief and sorrow in our community turn into motivation and action. I'm honored to have been a part of this team, and I'm very proud of every person who helped in our efforts. Today, we are 1 vote and 1 signature away from making our public safety system stronger. We're also 1 vote away from demonstrating to all of California that this body can come together in a bipartisan way to make real and substantial changes. I would request your aye vote on AB 1844, Chelsea's Law. Members, I want to thank the overwhelming majority of the members of this body. These are emotional and difficult issues, and there's long histories of these issues. Some have passed the legislature, some have not, some have been bipartisan, some have not. But with very few exceptions, members have not played political games. They've not sought to score cheap points, or they've not sought to drag in other issues into this one. Across the board, the members of this body of both houses, led by the leaders, the Speaker of the Assembly, the Republican leader, the pro tem, the Republican leader of the Senate, have said we are going to confront the issues in this bill in an honorable way. We're going to let the debates of the past be a part of the past, and we're going to focus on putting forward a bill that better protects our children. We're going to do it in the right way, and I commend almost all of you who have conducted yourself in that manner. It is a great testament to this body in a bipartisan spirit who came together. I do want to clarify one thing. There are some out there who will say this is not a prevention bill. But the only way you can prevent a future crime is when you have an indicator that someone is likely to be a danger to our children. You incarcerate them and you keep them there, which prevents them from offending another child. The second thing we do is we scoured the entire country for the most cutting edge, the most dynamic tool aimed at treatment and rehabilitation, which is also preventing future crimes. This bill, which started as a measure solely focused on incarcerating people, is now much broader in its scope. It includes money for treatment, it includes money for better parole, it includes a dynamic risk assessment so we can focus on those who are the greatest risk, who are the most likely to reoffend, and we've done it in a way that is revenue neutral, that won't cost the taxpayers of California any additional money. This is something that we can all be proud of, and I want to thank each and every one of you who supported us early and through the process, who contributed. In particular, I want to thank the chair of the Senate Public Safety Committee, Mark Leno. These are difficult issues. They're emotional issues, and he was an absolute professional in his engagement with our office and the family, and we made substantial changes to the bill that made it much better through his committee. And I want to thank two people who have worked every single day for 6 months on this issue, who rarely get the praise or appreciation they deserve, and that's Gary Olson of the Assembly Republican Caucus and Patrick Buteller of my staff. Members, there is nothing any piece of legislation can do to stop every attack. There's nothing a legislative body can do to remove all evil from our state, but we can certainly try. And this legislation is an effort that will put California at the forefront of how it prevents sexual attacks against our children and how it deals with the system in a smart, thoughtful way. And that is certainly all we can ask of this body. I would request your aye vote today.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. All debate having ceased, clerk will open the roll. All those voters desire to vote. All those voters desire to vote. All those voters desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 72, noes 0 on the urgency. Ayes 72, noes 0 on the measure. Measure is adopted.